called Frosty Dinghy, and I'm the dolphin, and you're the flounder.
Well, I guess. I think it should be Dr. Parker, but
It's called Frosty Dinghy, and I'm the dolphin, and you're the flounder.
so hey, it's another fun-filled episode of Frosty Dinghy. We got Flounder and the caged dolphin here. Cool, how's it going?
What? Always going good, man. What have you been up to? Anything fun this week, other than chasing the kids around, getting yelled at by the greatest
y-
wife ever?
Yard work, and I accepted a job at the DOT. I got to go get
Oh.
go get a physical Wednesday, and it's like a 2-hour deal. It's not like just like a normal physical. They got to make sure that you can like carry 25 pounds and shit like that. But so that happens Wednesday, and then hopefully Monday next week I'll be starting.
Didn't we sing a song about the DOT back in the day?
I
Like
don't
the DOT, them. Why do they pick on truckers? That all rhymes through there.
know.
You
I
don't
don't
remember
know.
those?
I don't remember. That's too long ago.
Back in the olden days.
Yeah. So how's the boat?
So we got different kind of boat news today, since my boat guru is in North Carolina, not in Texas at the moment. Uh, we have officially been signed up for the benefit golf tournament in Montezuma as Frosty Dinghy, and we're also sponsoring a hole.
Nice.
So we will put that nice little decal thing that I sent to you with the QR codes on the bottom, so they can scan it and stuff and follow us to the websites. So it'll be right on either a green or a tee box, one of the two. And
That's
also,
awesome.
we got the shirts ordered. So it took me a lot of work to get the background decal. So you know how if you put a logo in and you remove the background, it usually takes all the stuff around the backside out, right? The background. And it leaves the main character in the middle. Well, the way that this logo was designed, they used the background color in some of the main color. So when it took the background color out, it took part of the design, right?
Oh, whoops.
So the t-shirt lady and myself could not figure out how to get this design back and put the color back. So I even tried going in there with my little pen and drawing it in, the color back in, but it didn't look right. So finally I got a weird idea. I'm like, how about I open up a file and I put circles of the colors that are missing in 2 layers, right? And then put the design without the background in there. And we should be able to line up the main character over top of the circles that have the color, and it won't know any better if I save it that way. So we got all the color back in the picture, but it's actually 3 layers now instead of the 1 layer originally that it was.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was damnedest thing. I told her, I'm like, just print the one that you got. And then I'm like, hold on, I had a breakthrough.
So do we have is there like an online store to buy the Frosty Dinghy shirts?
Not yet. We're going to premiere them and see if there's interest in them. And then I'm going to have the actual maker. They just got approved for TikTok sales.
Okay.
So we'll put a link in us is what I'm going to talk to them about. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but what I'd like to do is put a link in our bio on TikTok. So it directs them to their TikTok shop where our shirt's in it.
Nice.
And then they can sell it, make it, and ship it straight from them.
Awesome.
See what I'm saying? That's what I'm going for anyway. I've seen other shirt companies do it and stuff like that. I figured they'd be on board as long as, we have an interest behind it.
Yeah, and anytime you can go completely third party where you don't have to actually do any of the work, it's even better.
So I came up with 3 different styles of shirts. Now, you saw pretty much 2 of them. I didn't give you the option for the third because right now they're just mine.
Fair.
The nice sleeveless t-shirts. Because I always get a couple of those for like when I'm playing video games and stuff like that or working around the house. They're just basically a t-shirt with the sleeves cut off like I do all the time anyway. But right. You saw the racer back tanks.
Yep.
Right? I sent you the sort of the design. So on the back of the racer tank, it's going to have a Frosty Dinghy going straight down the back. And then at the bottom, it's going to have the 2 QR codes. And then on the front, it's just going to have the main boat and snowball image on the front.
Nice.
And then you got your normal t-shirts, which is going to have that back print on it. And then it's going to say Frosty Dinghy up on the pocket square. And today I was pitched another idea about taking the design I sent for the racer back for the women's tanks and they want to put it on a muscle shirt for guys. So that's another option we have coming on that.
I like it.
So barring anything major, we'll start selling some shirts. And I'm also going to, remember that the like up here in my top left corner where it's got the Frosty Dinghy and the neon lights. I'm sure you've seen it with the black background and the blue. I don't know
Yeah.
if you can see it on
Yep.
your screen, but
No, I can't.
uh, I'm thinking about sticking that on koozies
Nice.
and doing that. And then Steeler just started printing shirts. He's got that imbuing. I can't remember what he called it. I'd have to look it up, but it's where they inject the ink into the shirt instead of like putting a template over top of it, like screen printing or anything like that. It literally just injects the ink into the fabric. So he's also doing shirts now too, and I have to figure out how to get him involved in this whole thing as well. So
Awesome.
I've been busy.
Yeah.
And I've also spent another $1,000 on the business.
Yeah. Like I said last time, you know what boat stands for.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, none of it was on a boat.
Well,
None of this has been on a boat. We have an accountant, we have accounting software, we've got media software that we're talking on now. None of it has a boat in it, and none of it came with hose.
yeah, that's bullshit.
I know. That's the number one thing I was told is if you get a boat, it comes with hose.
It's probably the only reason you bought a boat.
No, I've had boats before. They didn't come with hose either.
All right.
All right. So we're gonna get into a new type of podcast today. And it kind of hits you close to home, don't it?
And if we're talking what I think we're talking about, yes.
Well, what's your favorite board game of all times?
Axis and Allies.
Well, what's it about?
World War II.
And what part of World War II does it cover? Who's the players in this one?
So in the original, so we're only talking about the original.
Well, we might get into some of the crazy rules that come out towards the end, but we're focused mainly on the original.
So you have Russia or USSR or whatever you want to call them, Germany, Britain, Japan, and the United States.
Just regular Britain, or is it great now?
I don't know. It's
I think they call
England.
it UK on the game, but
Yeah, they probably do too. It's like they say in Ted Lasso. How many countries make up this country?
on United Kingdom,
Yeah.
2. Do you know what UK's actual full name is?
No.
United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Hmm.
I just learned that 2 days ago.
Well, because like Scotland's involved in the UK, I think, aren't they? And Wales.
They're not entirely involved. They consider themselves their own countries.
Well, and
But they
like,
still fall under the conglomerate, most of the conglomerate rules, I believe.
well, and I think that's kind of a voluntary thing anymore. Like, there's like African countries that like somebody wanted to become part of the United Kingdom, and like there's still like Australia is the same, and Canada are the same way. They like still fly the whatever the Great Britain flag is, in
Well, it's because they were
conjunction.
founded by them.
Yeah, so I don't know the exact rules. I think they may still pay some taxes to Great Britain or something. I don't know.
I'd have to research that whole area to even understand what's going on over there.
I don't care enough to do it.
And if we talk about it too much, they'll come and get us and throw us in jail.
Maybe.
Or they'll try.
We can find British fellow to explain all this shit to us.
We'll give them some toast and beans or something. It'll be all right.
Fucking gross.
That's their main delicacy, man. It's crazy.
Gross.
Beans on toast. They wouldn't know what to do with good old barbecue. But all right, back to the game.
All right. Yes, absolutely. So, describe to us, Kobe. When does the original ANA start as far as the war goes?
I believe it's 1942.
Yes.
But it says 1940 is roughly when it was all these things were going on. But once America gets drawn into it's 42. But it all started in 40. So up until America puts troops somewhere other than America, it's still in 40 and 41.
All right. So, as if people do not know, Axis and Allies is a turn-based game where Russia goes first, then Germany, then the United Kingdom, then Japan, then the United States. So first question for you is, if you are playing a game, do you prefer the Russian restricted first turn rule? Do you believe, because really Germany struck Russia first. So a lot of people believe that Russia is not allowed to attack on the first turn. How do you play it?
So I prefer that the only way that Russia can survive without help from its allies is to attack first. Now, if you follow the parameters of the war, and we'll run into this later in our conversation, I guarantee it because I got it wrote down over here. If you follow how the war went, Germany's first shot is a surprise attack. Not so much that it was coming, but how it happened. Like what they used was a surprise attack. Now, I prefer, if I'm playing as Russia, that I do not follow the first turn rule because I don't like being down to my just buying troops the entire game trying to protect my capital until somebody saves me. And you have to have that advantage on the other end against Japan, because if you don't attack Japan first, you lose your entire eastern side of your country the first move. So I think that they should be allowed to attack if I'm playing as them. Now, if I'm not playing as them, they don't get to attack because I want to destroy them. And
Right.
so if you don't attack as Russia on your first turn, you are counting on Britain to save you immediately and then America to come bail you out at the end.
Okay, so we just talked about one of the first variances, whether or not the Russians are restricted in the first turn. Is there any other variances from the standard rules that you typically play
With Russia
with
specifically.
with
No,
any country?
I'd rather bring those up at the end and come back into it, or as we hit the countries, because
Okay,
Russia's got the oddball thing that's their number one variant, right? And the only
so
way for Russia to become a super force is to attack on the first turn.
so I would say this. And the reason why I bring this up is, I mean, if we're talking about the game, we're talking initial setups. Because to me, whether Russia can attack or not the first turn is the initial setup. The other variants I like to always declare is whether or not your battleships are two-hit battleships or just one hit, and whether or
Oh, so
not,
you're talking about when you roll them on their side and stuff like that. Yeah.
yes, and whether or not they get repaired between turns or not, because it makes a difference.
See, battleships are in the rules are two hits. In the actual rules, they're two hits. Now,
Okay.
in the rules, they're not. There's nothing in there about being able to repair them, and that was adopted, I believe, in the second expansion in the expansion pack when they allowed paratroopers from France and brought France into the battle, where France became a country and could drop paratroopers and shit like that. I
Okay.
think the expansion pack is when they allowed the repair of battleships. I believe.
And I've never played repairs. I've always played two hits though, because at 24 IPCs, which is the money in the game, you get your money by the territories that you have. Each territory has its own monetary value.
Yeah.
At 24 IPCs, that's just, yeah, it's powerful at, I believe, 4 attack, 4 defend, but to only have to get hit once, it's not worth the money hardly.
See, and since you're on battleships, there's also three different rules on battleships as well, besides the two hits and that stuff. So a battleship can pull up beside a continent and shoot at people on every
Yes,
turn.
as I only play that if you are using transport and taking people onto the island.
Yeah, no, I agree with that part because it gets a shot. But
Yes.
they also there's also rules out there to where if a battleship pulls up, like parks in its final space, and there happens to be troops on the land there, they get a fire at the troops
I've
on
never
the land.
played that variant. The only time like I said, if you are invading using transports and you have battleships, then they get the first shot and they can't be shot back at. But bombardment. But I've never played it where they just get free bombardments.
See, and there's also on your bombardment, like you're talking about, where you said they get a fire first. There's also a rule where they get a fire every time you roll.
That seems
That's
strong,
except,
but
yeah. So like you roll through, right? They fired the first round. The other team defends. The battleship's still part of it, is what I'm saying. They don't just get a every time that it cycles, it gets to roll notes every time that you defend. The only thing is they can't take a hit. Your
right,
infantry troops have to take the hits, and once the infantry troops or the planes or whatever are gone, the battleship has to stop.
right.
And I've played that as well.
Okay, so I don't know how I feel like about that. I like that they can bombard when you are attacking. I don't know about, and so like another one, and this kind of I kind of feel like this is the same rule kind of the way that is is the always active AA guns. So if you are, say you are attacking one country and you're flying across another player's country, an opponent's country, and they have an AA gun on it, they get to take a shot at it, no matter what.
I can see it both ways on that one. I honestly can. Because if I took my plane right now and I flew across your forehead and you and I aren't friends, you're going to swat at it.
Yep.
Now, in the game, I don't think so. I don't think they should get a shot. But some of the weird rules out there, I can see where people would want to play that. But it would limit the ability of you to control the Axis countries if you did that.
Well, and so I would say this, like, to me, and we'll get more into strategy here later, um, but I am a big believer in the where you take your bombers in and just attack their IPCs. Why can't I think of the name?
The money raid, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
The industrial attack.
yes.
So where you just go in and raid money.
Right. Which to me, that is so going probably getting too far in right now. That's what Britain has to do against Germany basically the entire game. So the only way Russia has a chance is to just sit there and destroy their IPCs every turn. Which is why I believe that you need to have the always active AA guns, because otherwise.
See, that's different though. If you go on a money run, that's an attack.
Right.
So the AA guns should be able to shoot it.
Absolutely. Now, but if
you're attacking it for money, all the AA guns should be turned on. Now, if I'm not attacking you and I'm flying across your land to attack your ally, they shouldn't be on because I'm not attacking you.
I would say this, like, if you're like you said, if it's real war and if I'm attacking one general area and if I was attacking you, or if you and me and I are at war and I'm flying planes across your airspace, I'm going to shoot at them, right? Or you're going to shoot at mine. So
no, I get that. But if you can activate an AA gun because I'm flying over, why didn't you scramble your jets?
Well, maybe I don't have jets. Maybe you destroyed them all.
Yeah. Well, if you do, should they be in play then too?
The jets, I would say no. I would say no because realistically, you're just taking shots, which happened in World War II all the
time.
Okay. So I would say no. I like always active.
I'm not against it wholeheartedly. I understand it, but that's has to be set up at the beginning of the game. It can't be, I just shot your plane.
Right. Well, and that's why we're talking about the variants,
pregame rules.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here's another one. Since we're talking about pregame, can bombers carry people?
I say no.
So there's no paratroopers.
Not in the version I play. I know in the expansion packs they have that, and if we're playing an expansion pack, sure, play by those rules. But to me, bombers are too strong as it is in order to also be used as transports. Means bombers can move 6 spots. That means literally you can, it's too much.
All right, so might as well break out all the variants that I have on my list over here. Kamikaze planes. There's 2 ways to play that. Number 1, you can fly the planes knowing they have no place to land. That's variant number 1. Variant number 2 is you attack, say, Pearl Harbor, right? And you get fired back by the Americans, and they hit.
Yeah.
Well, you decide to take out your carrier because it doesn't attack, and it leaves the planes. So they turn into kamikaze because they have nowhere to go.
So
you can literally just send jets to go kill people and stay there until they die, knowing they can't get out.
Yeah, I have issues with that. To me, I don't like kamikaze.
So I am a firm believer that with the planes that you must have somewhere to land.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, and if you're going to knock something out, the plane's got to get knocked out before the carriers.
Yeah. Now, of course, if you're coming at me with 2 airplanes and all I have is a sub, I can't shoot back.
See, that's another variant.
So
because subs can defend at a 1 against planes.
See, I always have said subs can't fire at planes. Planes can fire at subs. But the nice things about subs is if they survive attacks, like if I have one submarine in a water area and you bring 2 planes out or a plane out and you miss, then I can submerge at that point, and my sub still has that territory.
But some versions claim that the style of planes, they couldn't defend against bombers, but they could defend against fighter planes because they have a deck gun. So
I
if airplanes attack, the subs can defend against with a 1 after the planes attack.
okay
Or they
after the
can
planes attack, not
the
not
planes come in and
simultaneous.
immediately attack first, like they came up and you're
Right.
having a
They
battle,
got
right?
yeah.
The
They
sub
got
has an
first move.
option. The
Yep.
sub has an option. The planes fire and miss. The sub can return fire at a 1, or it can retreat 1 space back.
Or submerge.
Because, yeah, exactly. But if it submerges, it gets to fire. If it retreats, it doesn't.
Huh. Okay. I've never played that way. I've always played subs cannot fire upon planes.
Yep, and they're usually dead pawns laying out if you don't keep something there to shoot.
Yeah.
Even like a transport or something.
Yep.
So,
So
and then the Doolittle rule. You know the Doolittle rule?
I'm not sure if I know this one.
That you can put bombers on aircraft carriers.
Oh no, not a chance.
That's how we attacked back at Japan after Pearl Harbor first, was with bombers, and they could land in China. So you can take 2 bombers and then launch them as long as they have somewhere to land off of
Right.
a carrier, but they cannot land on a carrier.
So where are they starting at? Are they starting off on the carrier that's off of the western United States?
So if when you can land them on the carrier as long as they don't attack. So if you land them on a carrier, like after you buy them, you set them on the carrier at the buy station, that's technically landing them there, right?
How many bombers are you allowing to put on each carrier?
2.
Because you can only put 2 jets.
Exactly the same amount. Remember, they put 12 on a carrier that they launched. So it's the same thing. They're just bombers. So you put 2 bombers on a carrier, and then as long as they have somewhere to land that's not a carrier, you can launch them off. You can't. So you can't use it as a carrier as a safe landing spot. But if they're at an industrial port and you buy bombers, you can put them on the carrier.
All right. So if I am United States
and you're in Hawaii,
well, Hawaii does not have an industrial typically.
Okay, so you're
But
on
if I have a
California,
carrier, if I have a carrier off the western United States, I can put the bomber
Yes.
on the carrier.
Yes.
I've played you can put jets on the carrier adjacent to the industrial technology spot or your factories, not bombers. I've never played
But
bombers.
that's the only way to put the bombers on.
Okay,
You
yeah.
can't land them on a carrier.
I have never played bombers allowed to be put onto a carrier from the start.
Yeah, that's
I know. So like the United Kingdom, that's why they have that rule, is because if you can't place planes on carriers, Germany will destroy your carrier without ever having a chance. Like you have to be able to put a couple planes on it like right away in order for it to even stand a chance.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. UK is tough to play, but it's also one of the safest plays.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of the hardest ones to get beat as, because it is an island, and Japan kind of falls under that same thing. It takes forever to take Japan if the person who's playing as Japan knows what they're doing. It takes forever to take Japan.
Japan takes forever because of the damn little islands you got to go knock people off of all day.
Right.
And then while you're doing that, they're stockpiling guys, and they're up to 100 by the time you get there.
Yes. So that's all of that I'm good with. Any other rule variants you have heard of or play?
The industrial rule.
Okay.
So do you get 1 shot at it, or do you have to? So do you get a roll each time that you buy an industrial roll, or do you get 1 shot?
No, you can buy as many times as you want. So like say I am, if I have an extra, and I believe it's 5 to take a roll, if I remember right. 5 IPC is the cost. Is that correct?
6, but yeah, I think it's
Okay.
6.
Well, you got to roll a 6 in order to get.
Oh, that. So yeah, it's $5 a roll, and it's 6 that you what you have to roll.
So you pay the $5 and then you roll, if I pay $5 and I roll a 6, and I got to roll again to see what industrial technology I get, because you don't get a call what you get.
So what I'm asking is, if you hit the 6 on the first roll, and
Yes.
you roll and you hit something you already have, do you get to
No,
roll again or
that
do you
doesn't
lose
count.
it?
You get to go.
See, I've played it both ways, so it becomes more of a crapshoot the more of the technology that you have.
Yeah. I could
So
see that. That to me, that's not the way to do it.
yeah, it turns it into basically playing Yahtzee with your industrial revolution stuff.
Well, and realistically, until you get to a point where you can really afford to, you can't afford to do it anyways. Like throughout the game, unless you really start taking control, you don't have the extra IPCs to spend on it
One country can do it straight off the bat,
U.S.
but they got to hit, and you
Yep.
can't do it more than the first round.
Nope.
So USA can roll their entire IPCs the first round just to get a super huge advantage on the rest of the game.
Boy, that's an interesting strategy. I don't think I've ever tried before.
I've done it.
Spend every IPC you have on trying to, yeah, because I mean, like if you got fighter jets or jet power off the first turn, that extra spot that you can go, or is it 2 spots that you get to move with your planes, is an ultimate power.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
But it all depends on what Japan does the first roll. If they attack
yeah,
Pearl Harbor, you're on defense. If they don't,
yeah,
then you roll your industrial.
if Japan does not attack Pearl Harbor on first move, it's a mistake. Game's over.
No, I get it, but sometimes they go after Russia.
Yeah, so okay, we'll hold off. We'll continue more on that strategy. So, any other variants that you know of right
That's pretty much all of them that I think I got. Let's see. The only other one was sub sneak attacks.
now? Subs always
So
shoot first, and if they hit, it drops the boat immediately. They do not get a fire back. So if I take 3 subs onto one battleship and 2 of them hit, that battleship's gone. No return fire on subs.
but do they get the free
Anything that
shot?
gets hit, what?
But do they get a free shot?
Subs, they get
If they
first
only
shot.
if they only move one space to get there, they can move 2, right?
Yeah,
So
they can move
there's
2.
a variant to where if they only have to move 1 to attack, they literally go in, they roll a die to see if they hit, and they leave and go back to their original spot because they get sneak attacks. That's a variant that I've seen.
I've never played that variant. Obviously, I've played the subs. I guess maybe this isn't even a variant. Maybe it's just a rule. Subs shoot first, and whatever they hit doesn't get any
Can't
return fire.
retaliate.
They're just done.
That's how it normally is. But I've seen the variant that's usually with the subs can defend against planes is where they get sneak attacks, and then you could like right off the bat you could send the sub that Germany has after the Great Britain battleship at Gibraltar.
Right.
It can take a pot shot and weaken it, so that way it can't combine its forces to kill the battleship and the sub that are sitting on the south of France.
Yes. I see what you're saying.
Because normally you can bring the battleship and a transport to come in there and fight against a battleship and a sub.
Well,
and then you can bring a couple planes too.
Yeah,
to take out those 2 ships that are there.
Because Britain starts with that carrier and a plane down there off of Gibraltar.
It's not a carrier; it's a battleship.
Oh, okay.
It's you got the sub that's on. I gotta pull it up, but I have the map. You got the sub that's on the east side of Spain, right?
Yes.
And then you got the battleship at Gibraltar. You got the German sub off the coast of Spain. You got the battleship on Gibraltar. And then you have a battleship and a carrier. Yeah, there it is. The carrier sitting to where it can transport to Africa. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So Great Britain would normally bring that sub and the battleship in and a couple planes to attack the ships in Germany when it was their turn if Germany didn't use them to attack.
Right.
But Germany can take that sub sitting next to Spain, go in and hit the battleship, and then go back to its original thing.
To hide. Just take a pot shot and hide.
Yeah. But the key is it has to hit or it's dead. That sub's going to die because Great Britain's going to send a plane at it if it hits.
Right.
If it doesn't hit, it probably won't get killed that round because they'll go after the battleship and the transport.
Yep.
But that's one of the rules that helps out initially for Germany to protect its navy.
All right.
Which
So
that's another variant I'm sure you've never seen.
say that one again.
I said that's a variant that you've probably never seen because I played a bunch of weird crap when I played.
I like the standard, so I'm old. So
The standard's best. Don't get me wrong, I like it that way better. But I play against Gen Z and millennials that need trophies
I've never
and new rules to make it fair for them.
I don't think I've ever played anybody that young. So let's get into the conversation. Standard gameplay. Is there any So the only variances I'm going to call right now for our standard gameplay is obviously the two-hit battleships. I've always considered that a variance.
Yeah. And you want the all-time active AA guns.
Yep, active AA guns.
Okay.
All right. So standard rules. Russia strengths and weaknesses.
So, are you going with the most logical strategy or the strategy that I play?
I said both.
Yeah. So the strategy that
I play. Are we doing Russia restricted first turn?
No. I don't play restrict. If I'm Russia, I'm gonna fight tooth and nail, and not be restrictive.
Okay,
I'll shoot first.
Okay, so we're saying Russia can attack first.
Yep. If Russia can attack first, they have to knock out the. Let me look really quick. I had it pulled up. They got to take out, the first thing they got to do is they got to buy a bunch of tanks and people, right? Because you got to drop them in to protect your stuff. And then you need to take out, I usually split the two countries if I'm being extremely aggressive, but your best bet is to knock out the 2 infantry, the 2 tanks, and the plane right on the edge of Russia. And then immediately drop a whole stack of people into your capital to defend until you get there. But on the eastern side, you got to combine that tank and 4 infantry guys onto where Japan can put an industrial complex that can put 3 people down. You got to go in there and knock those 2 out. But the problem with that is it comes down to the rolls. That's extremely aggressive. And if you lose both of those battles, you might not have a country much longer.
So when we're talking about the rolls here, I guess real quick question. Do you still like to roll the actual dice, or do you go to a battle dice simulator so that way it can just take care of it for you? One of the things that makes the game very long is the fact that you got to roll all these dice, right?
Yep.
I have seen online where they actually have the battle simulators where you put in there, hey, I'm taking 9 tanks and 18 infantry against 10 infantry, and you just hit simulate and it tells you what happens.
But that goes too much on mathematical probability to where in real life you can get a bigger anomaly to where I don't hit a single one of your units and you wipe out all of mine in one roll. I've seen it. But you can't do that. You can't do that on a simulator. A simulator runs on win probabilities, in my opinion. So I'd roll the dice, and we're going to play this game for 3 weeks.
Okay.
That's how I go.
All right. So Russia, you're attacking first turn.
So if I hit all of those, I've just crippled the Axis right off the jump. If I miss all of those, I'm going to lose my country.
Pretty quick.
Yeah. Like quick, fast, and in a hurry, the Allies will have to come liberate my country, because that would set the entire tone for the entire game for our team.
Yes. And that's one reason why I don't mind playing Russia restricted, is it gives me a chance in a way to fortify my eastern front and my western front, and hopefully the Allies get there quick enough that I don't lose my ass.
So basically, you go strictly on defense from the get-go.
Yes, I am buying infantry basically only as Russia, and I'm placing them in, I believe it's Kazakhstan or whatever the hell it is up there, and I'm trying to hold as much as I can.
So now here's a question that we should have probably answered before you asked me the question. Am I in control of all of the Allies, or am I just playing Russia?
So I'd say let's play as just our country. Like it is a 5-person game.
That I would not attack.
Okay.
because I can't trust anybody else to play out the game plan that if I fail has to be done exactly to protect Russia.
Yeah, no. So let's play it as you are only playing as your one country. You're not going to play as the Axis or the Allies. It's just your country, 5 person.
Then you would have to drop all of the defenses on the first one. You would have to drop all your people down into the country that's touching. I can't remember the name of it. Basically, on the eastern side, you have to consolidate to block the Japanese land right there
Yes.
with the 4 infantry and the tank. You
Yep.
got to put them all on the same thing and block the advancement of those soldiers there into Russia to try and protect. So you'd put the 2 extra people in there to make it 4 versus the 2 that are there, right?
Yep.
And you'd slide those forward. And then you got to take all of the infantry, the plane, and the tanks and step them in to the upper company, the larger, the one with the industrial complex with the sub and is that a carrier up there?
I think so. Yes.
You'd have to reinforce Leningrad,
Yep.
basically, with everything that's in Moscow, and you're probably going to lose what's in between. The 6 people that start in that country in between, you'll lose them on the next thing. But if you put all your troops from Moscow there, they're going to take your industrial complex
Yes.
because they'll push everything out of Germany into you. So you have to have enough there to protect your Moscow and Leningrad, basically. And
All
that's
right.
your first move. And then you just stockpile infantry and tanks to protect yourself until you
So
get help.
so as far as Russia's strategy goes, it is you are buying infantry and you are just trying to hold on to what you have. You are not attacking. You are just
Not at the
trying
beginning,
to.
no. Not until
You
the
are
Allies put a dent into shit.
you are just trying to stay alive. Okay. So next question then. Germany strength and weaknesses.
So the how you played Germany is basically taught on the program. You hit them hard enough, their girlfriend dies. You have to come out blazing and take as much land as you can possibly take as fast as you can take it and keep buying tanks and running people over. Your job is to take all of the land mass that you can drive a tank to. Leave the water alone unless you send planes at it. Leave it alone. You don't have the money to fight 2 battles. You don't. You build the tanks and you blitzkrieg everything. Your number one goal is you have to get Moscow. Have to. But while you're doing that, you got to feed troops down into Africa because that's where you get all your money. You go and you eat up the African points down there and just gobble them up. It takes you usually 4 turns to get them all.
If you
if
get lucky.
if they can't stop you, it takes 4 turns to take over all of the money from Egypt to the bottom of Africa.
Yeah, down to South
And you send
Africa.
that one or 2 little guys or the tanks or whatever, one tank to just run over the land and pick it up. But
Okay.
you have to get the USSR. You have to get Russia. Have to.
So I guess so we're saying the strength is you have to be fast, you gotta be quick with it.
They got the most force right off the start.
Yes.
You
Yes.
just have to take
They
Leningrad.
they're they
Then
are
you have
most
to take
prepared for
Russia.
the war.
I would, in my opinion, I always give up that first little piece of land right there. I take the 2 infantry, the 2 tanks, and the plane, all the tanks that can make it, all the planes that can make it,
So you're
and
you're so you're Finland, Norway up there off the coast that's kind of separated off. You give that up. You're like
no, that ain't what I'm talking about giving up. You send everything on land towards Leningrad
right.
and take that industrial complex there. I give up the land that the 2 infantry guys are sitting next to in Russia, depending on where
Okay.
they put their troops. If they
Right.
put troops there, it depends on which troops they put there. If they put tanks in there, I'll leave somebody to stop them, like leave 1 infantry in there that they have to stop and they can't just go 2 spaces. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I'm willing, if there's only guys in that one spot, to give up that one piece of land for 1 turn because I'll take it back the next go round as long as I take out Leningrad.
Well, and the nice thing is if you with your tanks you can move too. So you can put all your tanks in Germany that you build because you won't be able place them up there and let them grab the first turn because
Yeah,
you just
no,
took it
no,
over.
and
But
that's how
you,
you get that little piece of land back.
yes. So yeah, you'll roll over that with your tanks because they're gonna move the two.
I think you lose what three IPCs by doing that for
I
one
believe
turn.
so.
For one turn, it costs you one infantry guy,
Yes.
but it makes or breaks the entire war if you get that piece of Russia.
Yeah. If you can take that very first part of Russia, I wish I had my actual board out so I could remember. But I believe it's Kazakhstan or whatever. If you can take that, you can take a Caucasus that's right next to Russia, but really that's to me that's the second turn. You can get the top left, with the industrial capabilities there. That way you can start just putting guys right there. Then
I
you can
I
just go.
also I also transport troops before I lose my sub and my uh
Yes.
battleship.
Yep. So
I transfer one tank or two guys down into Africa to fight the tank and the two guys down there.
yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. From the southern Europe, they can go down into help in Africa, and then like I said, they're at the whatever it is, the sea there, but north of Germany because
Yep.
it attaches to Russia. So you have that transport there. You can move two guys that start in Germany into Russia or into Kazakhstan for that.
Well, you got that transport in the south of France right there
Yes.
with the battleship, right? And I
Yep.
send two people down, and then I move that sub that's over there beside Spain in with those ships and just leave them there as sacrificial lambs to keep Great Britain's navy busy so they can't go other places. I know they're going to eventually die, but the goal is to just eat up the land forces with Germany and to
So
leave.
So first turn is Germany. Are you taking all your planes and your bomber to try to remove any British Navy that is there off of Grand right now?
No, we're going to get Russia.
Okay, so you're not sending any planes out
Great
into the water.
Great Britain is not my problem. You can take my entire navy. My job is to take land.
Okay, all
My
right. So
job is not to be a naval force and run my subs around.
so
I'm a
I
landmass.
as Germany, I don't try to build a navy, but I will take my planes. I try to keep some planes just to try to keep the British Navy from overrunning me. Because if I let Britain put in a bunch of transports, then they can start just knocking people over to Western Europe without ever having to move. So I try to keep the transports down by making sure I have planes there to go destroy shit.
And I try to get Moscow as fast as I can to get the money. And then I put so many troops there, it doesn't matter how many transport they have, they can't bring enough.
Okay. So UK strengths, weaknesses, strategy.
UK is, I hate to say it, but I think UK might be the worst country to try and win with.
I think
This is going to be, I know nobody's going to agree with me on this one at all. Nobody. Turn one, I stick an industrial complex down at the bottom toe of Africa that can drop two troops, and I build ships. My job is to build ships and keep Germany's navy non-existent. That's all UK does is fly planes and build ships. They can't do anything else. You can't put transport in because people like you keep shooting them every time that I put them in. So you build airplanes, but the way around it, the only way around it until you get India, right? You got to knock out the country next to India because you don't want to put an industrial complex in India until you knock out the land troops from Japan.
right there because yeah, it's pretty easy for
But
Japan to take out India.
if you put an industrial complex down there that you can drop two troops on constantly into Africa, Germany can't make any money because Germany's whole goal is to eat up all those African countries, right?
Yep,
But
you got to get those IPCs.
their navy's going to be non-existent in South Africa. I mean, in North Africa, in 3 turns at the most.
Yeah,
So with them
usually
not
I
being
just
able to, put troops up there, it doesn't matter if you lose the first couple because you're sending two infantry troops every round into that, and they can't eat up the money, which cripples them.
yeah if I'm Britain, so I have that battleship that's on the south side of Spain there. You have the submarine that's north of Egypt or whatever. they're going against that battleship and that transport that's off of Italy. I
Well,
gotta
don't
try
forget
to,
you got the sub running
and
around at India. Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's a transport. Sorry.
yes. And I'm using that for other purposes. Um, so then of course you have the battleship and the transport off of the UK. Um, I'm taking my planes and I'm trying to destroy the sub and the transport that is off of Germany. I need
Yeah.
I have to get rid of Germany, any German naval thing I can. I have to be able to control the seas any way I can.
You're not so you're not controlling the seas. You're controlling the German part of the seas
Yes, the
because
German part of the seas.
your entire naval apparatus for 90% of the game won't leave
No,
5 blocks
no,
from your island.
no. And in fact, if I'm doing it right, I'm building transport, I'm building guys, and I am trying to take over Finland, Norway, right up there off the, so my transports never have to move, um, until I can build up enough transport slash guys where between me and the United States, we can take Western Europe.
Seeing when I'm in Great Britain, I don't count on the United States.
And
I
this is
count on Russia.
and this is the fight of playing 5 person because yeah, if I'm playing as all three and I can make an overall strategy, then yeah, no problem, no big deal. I will just keep Finland and I will build up my United States and I will take over Western United States D-Day. But if I'm only playing as Europe, I want to try to get as much of that as I can. And the Western Europe kind of becomes one of those that flip flops between Germany and UK and Germany and US the rest of the game. Once it gets taken over the first time, it flip flops a lot. But I believe that if I remember right, I think that's a 6 IPC country. So it's one of those that it pays to take it. The other
Which
thing I
one?
like to
The Fenway? Which one?
no, the Western Europe,
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
basically
Yep.
France.
Yep. I know
Um,
what you're talking about. Yep.
like I said, I think that's a 6 IPC
That's
country.
France. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's France.
I think that's a 6 IPC country.
It
You,
is.
yeah, you got to take that. And like I said,
Not I don't take it with Great Britain though.
if I'm Great Britain, I'm going to try. Just because the other thing I'm going to do with Great Britain is I need to make sure. Honestly, I am trying to build bombers, and I am doing IPC runs on Germany every chance I get because that's the only way that, to begin with, that's the only way you can keep Germany at at a restricted level because they are set up to own the board right off the bat. That's just the way it is. So if you can control their IPCs right off the bat with raids, that's what I'm going to do.
See, and like I said, once I put that industrial complex down in the bottom and stop them from being able to expand, as long as Russia did its job, I'll put that down there. If Russia didn't do its job, I go into your tactics.
Yeah.
But if Russia comes off that first round of Germany attacking and it doesn't lose much, then I can drop that industrial complex and not have to worry as much the first turn and get the industrial complex down there. But if Russia gets a big hit on it, you have to go into your mode to help Russia survive.
Yes.
You can't try conquering the world and losing 90% of the money in the first 5 goes.
Right. No.
So
It's
it all
it,
depends on Russia and Germany's first go
if
on
Russia
which
gets
direction you can
if
go.
if Russia gets lucky and can hold Karelia the first turn from Germany,
Yeah.
then it's a completely different game if they don't.
Yeah, and
If
that's when you can dump the industrial complex and start trying
yep,
to be a force.
yep. If Russia loses Karelia first turn to Germany, then you got to play completely different than if Russia
Yep, then
wins.
you gotta play super support and just keep throwing planes and people.
Yep. And I finally found the map I've been looking for, so I feel very confident that's Karelia is the one I was talking
Well, I know you found it because you said Karelia, and there's no way in hell that you would come up with that on your own.
about. No.
So,
So
especially a word that has that many syllables.
and obviously I have not had enough of the good stuff yet tonight. I can still say it.
That's probably a good thing. Okay, back to it.
So UK strategy is based basically, honestly, like we said, it's based solely off whether or not that Russia can hold Karelia. If Russia
But
loses
like,
Karelia,
so
or if they
you
hold,
never, ever saw that my strategy at all
which one?
for UK. Like, if Russia did its job, you never have seen anybody run the strategy of UK trying to come on the offensive that quick.
I think they have to. If Russia's allowed to attack first, if you're not playing Russia restricted, UK has to take people into Europe right away because Germany is set up for this war.
No, I
Ger-
know I get that, but you only have one. What I'm saying is, you only have one strategy in your head for UK.
Me personally,
Yes, you personally.
I
You
have a
have
couple, but
you
yeah,
have the
it's
defense and the IPC raids.
yeah
That's 90% of what you play.
for UK. Like I said, it all depends on whether or not Russia can hold Karelia. If
Yeah.
Russia is able to hold Karelia, yeah, I can be a lot more aggressive. If they cannot hold Karelia, then you got to play it completely different. Then you have to base it off of your IPC runs. Like I said, I like to try to get Finland, Norway with UK, just so that way if hope is at some point I can build it back up enough where I can get Karelia back for Russia if they lose it. That's really the heartbeat. I mean, Russia needs UK's help. If I have to, I can transport directly from the United Kingdom over to Karelia if they hold. There's the transport next to Eastern Canada. There's the transport right off the United Kingdom, and you can take a guy in a tank and you can put it right in Karelia if they hold. If Karelia holds, it's a miracle. It doesn't usually happen. Let's be honest. If you're playing Russia restricted, it usually does not hold. I'm taking my two
It all
fighter.
comes down to the rolls because
Yeah.
you're outnumbered. You're
Yep.
outnumbered on the first one, so it comes down to the rolls.
Yep, I'm taking my two fighter jets as UK, and I'm taking out the German transport. If I can hit the sub, great. I would love to take out the sub. Don't get me wrong, because that sub has
If you
first.
take off the submersion rule, I always send a fighter after that single sub.
Yeah, I always play submerged. It's submarines. I never play they can fire though, so the only defense they have is submerging.
Yeah.
Against that. But yeah, I'd love to take out that sub because that sub has first strike. So that means worst case scenario, odds are if I'm playing as Germany, that sub's not lasting past round two anyways, because the second round I'm running into the UK territory, water territory, trying to take out any boat I can with it, along with my planes.
So
And
have you
then
done the with UK? You're talking about that sub because, like I said earlier, I'm taking that sub in with the battleship and the transport, right? Past it stays submerged past the battleship, your battleship, right?
okay,
And it goes past Gibraltar, and then it goes into with the others, right?
well the sub is off Anglo Sudan, right?
Yeah, it's
Right
off
next
the
to
edge of Spain.
the sub. There's only the battleship off the edge of Spain for Great Britain. The sub is
No, I'm
down
not
there.
talking about Great Britain. I'm talking about Germany's sub that's
Oh, okay.
next to Spain.
Yes. Yes.
So if
So,
they don't move that, then you send a plane after it. But if it goes into there, have you ever taken a bomber to add to the boat forces to make sure
oh,
that you knock out those two boats
yes.
that
Yes.
Germany has, and then that lands with the tank and the two guys in
Yep.
Egypt?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, you can't send a fighter, but you can send a couple bombers.
Right. And well, you have the one bomber in United Kingdom, and you have the one. No, it's just a jet you have in it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and then
As the UK, I'm trying to own the oceans in Europe. I don't like trying to build up a navy as Germany, but if I'm the UK, I'm not letting it happen. I'm going to have the oceans. That's the only way I have a lifeline to anything is the oceans. You can't
so
claim territory with the planes. You have to use people. Um, so yeah, I'm making sure like I said, I'm running IPC runs on Germany just to try to take out any IPC I can, just to try to help out Russia that way. I'm taking Finland and Norway. That way I can just transport two troops over every time. And I'm at that point, realistically, I'm hoping the U.S. starts sending some people that way too, because that's really our end to help keep Karelia or get back Karelia is Finland, Norway.
So here's also a big decision. which direction does your infantry that sits in Egypt go? So
Ah,
you got the tank and the two guys, right? And then you have the
yes.
two guys sitting in Egypt.
So
Which
realistically,
direction do you go? Are you trying to send them to India?
so
Are you trying to
realistic.
send them up into Russia for support? Or are
Uh,
you sending them in to fight Germany?
well, so realistically, if I'm Germany, right, I'm taking my guy from Libya. I'm dropping him in Anglo Sudan, Egypt. I'm taking the tank and running it through French Equatorial Africa and into Egypt. I'm taking the tank from Southern Europe, putting it on the transport, putting him in the battleship against that submarine there at Egypt, right? So my hope is that I have a guy. Well, my hope is I have two tanks when I get done in that battle in Egypt. If that's the case, I have one guy in Jordan for the UK. I mean, going against two tanks, I don't like my odds. So honestly, I'm probably running him over. I'm probably holding him there, and yeah, it's I that guy. I mean, realistically, you're looking at it. Germany is going to basically run over Africa at that point if I can't hold that. So I'm probably just holding my guy there just to make sure that they don't start running from the south. Because if the Germans are allowed to go from Egypt to Sudan and then into Persia and then come up to Russia from the south, that's even that much harder for Russia. So I'm probably just holding that guy there.
So it all depends on what happens the first roll of Germany.
Yes. Yep.
If you can hold them or not in Libya.
Yep.
Yep. That's what I agree. That's one of the big turning points is what you do with that one guy that's sitting there. Which way he goes.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm probably holding off on, and realistically, because if you have two tanks left when you get done, so if Germany, if they're doing it right, they're running the one guy down to French West Africa from the country on the left. I can't think of the name of it. Morocco area.
Yep.
I'm leaving that guy there, so they're going to end probably with two tanks in Egypt. They're going to run one through Congo to get that country point, and then into Kenya. The other one go through Italian East Africa and then to Kenya. So they'll have the two tanks in there in Kenya and Rhodesia. Uh, so this is actually where I kind of like your strategy of putting that industrial technology factory down in South Africa. I mean, you want to be able to drop two guys down their first turn, so it's kind of a
But
risk.
by the time Germany can get there, you're
You're
dropping.
yeah, you're
They're
hopefully
going to
you're
be
putting two
depleted to
guys in there.
like one tank eating up the ground down there,
Yeah, and
and you can drop two tanks in on them.
that's your hope there. So yeah, like I said,
And here's another thing that I've done before is I've taken that transport that's in India
yep,
and I run it down to Morocco, pick up that guy, and the next turn I bring him back to India and just let Germany walk down there and eat up the IPCs, and I save a troop to defend against Japan.
yeah. Which realistically, now that I remember, it's been a long time since I played it. I think I usually do that too, and because you got to keep those three from Japan if you can. So two guys in the plane. Usually you can hold off a couple turns, um, which as Great Britain, you need every IPC you can get at all times.
Yeah, but you normally lose Africa right off the get go, and then all you're doing is getting 12 IPCs a game by the time
Yep.
around until another country helps you get your land back.
All right. So Japan, strengths, weaknesses,
Japan.
strategy. And I admit, I
Well,
love playing as Japan. It is my favorite to play as.
you just like blowing up Hawaii.
I like destroying a lot, and Japan is good at
Japan has one job: take over the oceans. Nothing but the ocean, so help you, ocean. Uh, I personally take everything I got, take down Pearl Harbor, and then the next step, you kill California's Navy that they put in trying to take out your stuff.
it. Yep.
And you just keep building boats and planes. That's it. I give up the three countries on the land if it comes down to it. They'll fight. They'll fight their hardest to keep it, but I'm not sending infantry except for the ones that are already on the island there at all until I get America completely surrounded, so they cannot put boats in the water. That's it.
Okay, so
And then I will take back the land. Or Germany should have it by then, and it shouldn't be a problem.
yes, Germany should have it. I absolutely believe in subs for Germany, or I mean for Japan. I think it's the easiest way to control the seas because you can go
Yep.
in, you have the first shot technology, and if you miss, you can submerge. They don't even get a shot at you. It's great. So you can take 3 subs against a battleship. If you don't hit it twice, you submerge. Battleship doesn't even get a shot at you. It's great. Um,
See,
no,
that's different technology than I run, but I get it. I know what you're saying. Keep going.
I guess
No,
one.
no, no. So the sub technology that I played was you do get a sneak attack, right?
Right.
But if you go in there, you have to have something else with you to get a sneak attack with no retaliation,
I
because
got ya.
then those subs have to
Yeah.
retreat after they shoot, not
I got ya.
submerge. They have to
Yeah.
leave.
Yep. I got ya.
Yeah.
I do like to kind of force the pressure in East Russia if I can. Um, I'm not as worried about India if they don't try to put a factory in there. The 4 troops that the United States has over there in the plane, realistically, if I'm the United States, I'm running them up to try to help hold Russia anyway. So I'm going to take that shit over anyhow. I like to build, with every turn that I can, I like to build a sub, I like to build a transport, I like to build 2 guys, and I'm taking 2 guys from Japan over to Manchuria every turn. To
Well,
start,
you keep 2 transports there because you're always dropping ships.
yeah.
I
So
don't send the transports to battle unless
no, no.
unless I have to.
So first turn, I am taking my 3 guys from Manchuria up to the Soviet Far East. I am taking the 2 guys from the Philippines, and they are getting on that transport that's going up to the Soviet Far East. I am taking the plane from French Indochina. Uh, if UK has not moved that transport, I'm taking out that transport with them. Then I am taking the plane from the Philippines and the plane that is on the carrier in the Caroline Islands and the battleship and the submarine from the Solomon Islands and my battleship that is off of Japan. And all of that is going to Pearl Harbor. I'm also grabbing my bomber, which should be
So
able to.
hold on, wait. You're taking the plane from where?
The plane from the Philippines,
Okay, and where's it going?
it's going to Pearl Harbor.
Where's it gonna land?
I'm going to bring the carrier over.
That has 2 planes on it, so it has
No,
nowhere
it
to
only has
land.
one plane on it. The plane at the Caroline Islands, or the carrier at the Carolina Islands, only has one plane
It has 2 planes.
on it. One.
2. On
Well, if
my
it
starting board that I'm looking at, it has 2.
okay, mine only has one on it. So whichever way you go with, I guess I've only played one there.
See,
If
the one
if
I it's a full carrier.
okay, so the one I see only has one plane on it. So yeah,
Okay.
I guess if you have 2 planes on that carrier already, then you can't do it. But
That's why I always send the one in Philippines up and land it in the land area up there on top where I took all my people.
right. But anyways, so like I said, I'm taking the 2 guys from the Philippines on that transport. I'm taking it into South Far East or Soviet Far East. I'm going to go ahead and take the 3 guys from Manchuria, take that up to the Soviet Far East, assuming, depending on what they've done to reinforce it. I'm also taking all of those planes from the French Indochina and from Japan and running them into that battle also. So I'm going to try to take the Soviet Far East. Um, I'm not transporting any guys from Japan right away. Um, or wait, no, I do. I transport the
Yeah, you
tank up there
transport the
right
2 that
away.
are on it,
Yes.
and you transport the 2 off the Philippines.
Yep. So I'm coming in with like 7 people and a bunch of planes to take out. Probably just honestly, if I'm Russia, I've probably taken the tank back to as far as I can, probably Novosibirsk or Evenki National Okrug, because I want to keep that tank and it doesn't defend for shit anyways. I'm taking the other guy back to from the Soviet Far East to Yakut, and I'm taking the 2 guys from Aventki probably to Yakut. So I'm going to have 6 guys sitting at Yakut to try to hold off Japan, um, just to slow it down.
You are Japan.
Yes. Well, now I was
So
talking
who?
as Russia, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So realistically,
Okay.
I'm probably taking the Soviet Far East against one guy. If I'm that tank's definitely not there. So at worst 2 guys, because you're not going to waste that tank if you're Russia sitting there in Soviet Far East. But yeah, so I'm taking the Soviet Far East as Japan on first turn. I'm going to try to destroy the Pearl Harbor, and I want all my stuff there to be able to take out the rest of that United States Navy on the west side as soon as I can. Like I said, I'm buying subs. I'm going to after first turn and second turn, I'm taking out the rest of the U.S. Navy. I'm moving subs east to west, or west to east, I guess it is. East to
So
west.
you'll have a stall after the second turn.
Well, because I'm building subs that first turn, so any Navy I have left is going into the Western United States on the second turn. The subs I built the first turn will be going to Pearl Harbor, and I keep building subs, and then I'm going to start taking stuff down. I'll leave subs in Western United States. I will take the rest of my Navy down through, past Mexico, and at that point, I'm probably going to transport a guy into Panama just to really kind of piss off the United States. But then I can also get boats through the Panama Canal if I own Panama.
You play
Uh,
that rule.
yes. So if I don't have Panama,
You play the Panama Canal rule too, huh?
yes. If I do not control Panama, I cannot use the canal, or my allies can't. Um, and it's one of those things. I'm going to slowly just kind of ping at the United States. I'm not going to really make a big run at them. Because
You
that's a
can't do
mistake.
that until you take out the rest of the world.
Right. But I can do shit that's going to annoy them. I'll grab Brazil if I can. If I,
Takes
I'll
away 3 points.
yeah, I'll grab Cuba or whatever it is down there off the coast. It's just enough to annoy them. You know what I mean? It keeps them busy fighting me rather than going against who they need to be fighting. And at some point, I'm going to try to take out the stupid shit down New Zealand, Australia. That's another 3 IPCs, 4 IPCs away from UK. Who needs it? Realistically, like the guy at Midway, whatever, the guy at Midway can live forever. I don't care. Enjoy it. Alaska, I don't mind taking Alaska just if I get a chance, knowing I'm going to lose it real quick. But I just like to annoy the United States whenever I can. Anytime you can get a couple of UPCs from the United States is good. So that's how I like to play as Japan. I like to try to control the seas. I'd like to try to make the United States where they can't do anything. Because if they can't drop a navy, they can't transport people over to Europe, and that's required realistically in this game. Is the United States has to be able to get into Africa, Europe.
So have you played it to where you just control the western side of America and then commit to the land battle on 90% of your troops and
With
let
Jap-
America have as many ships as they want on the east side?
well, so my problem with that is then you're letting the United States support Russia. I'm trying to keep the United States out of Europe. If the United States is allowed to support Russia, then Russia can stay alive for too long. You gotta try to destroy Russia as soon as
Depending
you
on
can.
how your land attacks are going.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it, it, it
That's what
all.
I'm saying. That's just another strategy to go in is if you stop the Navy from attacking Japan from America, then you can help the Germans roll through.
Yeah, and like I said, that's why I try to build 2 guys every time and transport or whatever, and I'm constantly sending guys over to try to hold and mess with
But
the.
you're not trying to advance.
No, I'm not
You're
really
trying to
trying. I
hold.
had I have no real intentions of taking Russia as Japan. Realistically, I do not have the firepower to do that. Now,
And
if
that's where if you take out India, you can
right,
drop an industrial thing right there and then you become a land force
yes,
in either one of
then
those 2 countries.
yeah, then you can drop 3 tanks in India every turn and you are a turn and a
And now
half
you're part
away
of the
from.
now you're part of the land war.
Yep. I honestly, if UK does me the favor and puts a factory in India, then I will take it. Then it becomes a priority. But otherwise, I'm just going to try to be a thorn in Russia's side and make them defend against me and try to take any IPCs I can from them just to make it so. Because realistically, if you get to the point where all they have is Russia, that's 8 IPCs. They're building, 2 guys every turn, 5 guys every 2 turns. Eventually, you'll be able to wear them down. So yeah, I will try to just kind of be a thorn in Russia's side coming from the east. I'm not trying to destroy them. I'm not going in there with a full force attack unless I'm getting to a point where I can. But it's to me, Japan's resources are better spent trying to keep the United States out of it.
Like I said though, there is that strategy that I've played against where they knock out the Navy on the western United States, right?
Yep.
And they drop an industrial complex in one of the 3 original countries right there.
Yeah,
Because
usually Manchuria.
they all have 3, the ability to drop 3 uh things in there, and they move all of the land people that they can move and the planes to the land to defend it the first go round. And then they
Right.
put the industrial complex in, and then they start dropping 3 tanks every turn and getting into the tank battle with Russia, because you wipe out the Americans quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Right. Yeah,
But then you
America
start
has 4
fighting.
guys in a plane there. They don't stand much of a chance.
But then they fight India, and they start fighting the eastern side of Russia.
Yep.
And their whole goal is to keep enough ships that America can't get to them. And if America starts coming with their navy, they super build a bunch of ships to send out and keep them at bay again.
Yep. Yeah, no, to me, the best move the thing I have most luck with is just trying to control America from being able to join Europe by just kicking the shit out of them navy wise. If I'm really playing well as Japan, I will have subs in Eastern Canada, and I am almost keeping UK's navy down because I have that many subs.
If they're in eastern Canada, they've probably got into the Molson beers, and they're probably not that effective anymore.
That
Just saying.
shit's that
Well,
shit's too weak.
they do like sake. But
That's right. Okay.
you were coming off of Japan onto your next country.
Yes. So, United States, strengths, weaknesses.
Strength is they get 36 IPCs every turn, and they can just start stockpiling subs to take out Japan's navy. So they're far enough away from the fight you can't eat up their land very easily. You can't take over anything. The only thing you can take over is China.
Right.
The two
Just the
countries
4 in
there.
Asia. That's all you can really do.
So their job is to stockpile and send help, unless Japan gets a hell of a good attack the first go round. Like, if Japan doesn't lose anything when they hit Pearl Harbor, you have to drop everything you got into boats. Otherwise, they're going to shut down your navy, and you have to have your navy to help. So, the first couple turns, you're going to be building ships to go take out Japan's navy.
Yes.
And you're going to send a couple transports eastward with troops and drop them in Africa, is what I do with them. I drop them down there to support and work their way up into Russia. I mean, you can take them up to and drop them off with UK if you'd like, anywhere in there. But if Germany is taking over Africa, you need to send a couple people there to take back UK's money so they can stay relevant in the war.
Yes.
Or you can send up transports to Russia and drop troops off there, but that's a 2-move game.
So realistically,
Honestly, you have to take back Pearl Harbor, and you have to beat the hell out of Japan's navy and keep continuing to stick people somewhere in Europe to go after Germany.
so realistically, if you lose Pearl Harbor to start, the only thing you have to go back out with is you have the battleship from Western United States, you have the plane from the Western United States, and you have the bomber in the Eastern United States. Because I don't think the plane can make it. I'm counting it up now. 1,
The plane from Eastern United States can make it,
2. Oh yes, they
because they
can.
can land on Hawaii.
Yep. So yeah, that's all you have. So like realistically, if Japan is built a navy with their IPCs, even if you take back Pearl Harbor, you're not holding it long. So all you have left is that battleship for any kind of scene.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Depending on the attack Japan can put on Pearl Harbor, how much damage they can hit. If they don't lose much, you drop a whole bunch of subs with the ships and you leave them on California,
Yes.
and you just reinforce it with boats to endure the second attack that's coming, is how I play that. Now,
Yeah. It.
If Pearl Harbor damages the fleet enough that you can go in with your ships and knock the rest of the Navy out at Pearl Harbor, you have to do it. You can't
Yes.
let them retreat. If they retreat, you're in for a long fight. Either you're going on defense on the western side, or depending on the roles, you got to push hard that way first, and then you go support the other way, is how I look at it. And there's not really much you can do with the troops that are hanging out over there in China.
No, they're kind of goners to begin with.
If they're still alive, you run.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, you're probably going to take them up to try to reinforce Russia. You're losing those 4 IPCs. You know it. Those
Yeah.
4 IPCs in the big scheme of things for the United States don't mean shit.
If they're still there and India's still there, I put them in India.
Yeah. Yep. They're going there. I'm taking the plane there. I'm trying to help hold that. And once again, this is weird because we're thinking like we used to play against each other a lot, where we were playing as the whole Axis, the whole Allies. If I'm playing just as the United States, I'm taking that transport and the 2 guys, and I'm going right over to Algeria. Take those Russian or the German parts of Africa first. I'm hoping to get Algeria and Libya and take those couple IPCs that the UK could really use. Um, but I'm selfish.
If you take Liberia and Algeria though, they don't go to UK.
Right, they're mine. They'd be
Yeah, they're
US.
yours. Yeah.
So I usually try to take those first before I liberate the rest of Europe for United Kingdom, just because I'm selfish. And and I know that's wrong. I know it's still
It's not wrong.
it's still a team game, and realistically, the
Not if you're
UK.
playing solos.
Well, no, but we're playing as allies, right?
Yeah. No, I get
So
that.
I mean, realistically, if I'm being a good ally, I'm letting the UK take those because they need the IPCs to really help out in Europe. Whereas America, I don't need them as bad. But I'm selfish. I'm going to take them. That's what I'm going to do. So yeah, at that point, I have my transport. It is sitting next to Algeria. I don't love that. I'm assuming at that point, Britain has taken out the sub that Germany has sitting outside of Liberia or Algeria off of Spain. I'm assuming
It
that's not
still leaves it in plane attack distance though,
right. It does.
because
Um,
it's one move.
yes. Uh, that's a chance you gotta take. But I need to get those 2 guys over there. I need to try to get into Africa. Realistically, I am buying transports. I'm buying guys. I'm buying the transport and the 2 guys every turn. However, it works out mathematically. Along with, so I'm probably buying a sub to throw in the west. I'm buying a transport and 2 guys to throw into the east. So that's looking at 16, 19, 22 IPCs. And I'll see where else I want to get. If the UK has done what I would do and take Finland, Norway, then I am literally every turn taking up transporting 2 guys into Finland, Norway to start supporting the UK and Russia in that facet. I'm probably not taking much with the infantry because they don't shoot for shit. They only shoot at a 1, but they defend well. So that's probably where I'm going at. I'm just going to, when, if we can get Karelia back, assuming Karelia gets lost, I'm getting people into Finland, and as soon as we get Karelia back, I'm trying to move as many people into Karelia as I can to try to help hold it. Obviously, that is Russian controlled, so my troops are the first to die. But that's a known fact. I'm also hoping that the Germany kind of goes a little light on Western Europe, and I can go ahead and nab Western Europe once or twice. It did 6 IPCs. One thing to remember about Western Europe is it has that AA gun in it. It doesn't have a factory, but it's got an AA gun. So I'd really like to try to take that if I can. Like I said, we might switch it off and on between me and UK and Germany 3, 4, 5 times in the game. But to get those 6 extra IPCs even one round, that's big, no matter what.
That's 3 guys or a tank.
Yeah. So that's where I like to go with the United States. Like I said, I need to try to get after Japan. I need to try to control the sea a little bit over there. because that's really going to, if I can be a pain in the ass for Japan, then it's going to keep Japan away from Russia. Uh, but realistically, I am trying to get as many people over to Europe as quickly as I can.
See, and I take a totally different tactic on that. Is my first go around with America is I'm dropping all of my APCs into subs, and they're going with the battleship on the western side, and then those people are going to go just destroy the navy and stop Japan from building a navy.
Yeah, so you're trying to stop Japan. Period. I'm
Yeah.
splitting my forces. I really am.
Yep.
I'm trying to fight battle on two fronts.
The
And
current transports that are there, I'll take troops and send them that direction. But
yeah,
it's going to be 2 turns before I'd send anybody else because they got to come home and then go back.
right.
I'm not. I. It's in my mind. Great Britain's job is to defend the eastern seas
Like I said,
of the United States.
I agree with that. I like to have transports on the east side. Ideally, I'll have, you know, I like to build evens if I can, so that way it's two guys, if I have four transports, I'm rotating them. So each turn I'm buying four guys, each turn I'm getting four guys. It's either at worst UK to have over there, if not Finland, so we can start building up. But they'll be
Yeah, I send
crossing,
2 to Africa, but right off the jump.
right.
But I expect that transport not to come back when I send it.
Unfortunately, yes.
And then I don't build another one for a while
I,
until I get Japan's navy under control. I go after the navy and I leave. I keep like if I buy ships and there's money left over, I buy people and I leave them in Eastern. Right? I just keep putting people over there, but I
like I
buy
said,
everything on ships.
I like to try to build a transport to make sure I can at least start getting guys. I like to buy a transport of two guys, and everything else can go to subs, and I can fight Russia with or not Russia, but Japan with subs. But I need to get those guys over to Europe just to try. For at worst to be cannon fodder. Let's be honest. They're
They're defensive troops. You drop them in
yes,
there to keep people from taking the land.
yes, absolutely,
And then as they progress, you move them forward to defend so they can attack, and then you move them forward so that to defend so they can attack.
yes,
You're
yep,
you're basically the Backstreet Boys all the way down.
bye, bye, bye,
Yep, they die and you replace them.
yep,
They're expendables.
yep.
They get to go to battle, but they don't get to do anything
No.
except for so put them on our tanks and our airplanes too.
It's it's kind of like Days and Confused. Boys, 50 are going out on a mission. 25 if you ain't coming back.
Exactly. So that brings me to another anomaly that I saved. When you say we'll go with Africa because it's easy and Germany's going to run through it, right? And pick up all those. But you go in there with America and knock their little German flags off all those. Do you keep them or do you give them back to Britain?
Oh, they go back. So like say
No,
Germany take
I know what you're saying. That's what the original rules say.
yes.
But one of the anomalies is if you liberate a country, it's now yours.
I don't
Your
like that
IPCs.
because I don't like that. I think in order for it to have a chance, you have to, because otherwise Britain would end with 8 IPCs for the rest of the game. Let's be honest.
Yep.
The United States has to be able to liberate Africa. Otherwise,
For
realistically,
Great Britain. Yeah.
right. Otherwise, it's just going to end up being the United States versus the Axis because, yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Once Russia gets down to only holding Russia, which is probably going to happen, Russia would be absolutely. You might as well let Russia fall at that point if you're the United States or United Kingdom. If Russia doesn't get back their IPCs, because otherwise they can't do anything. You need Russia to be able to put in stuff in order to take back Germany and fight Japan from the West.
I agree, but I've seen it played the other way too. So
That's a dickhead
I've
move.
seen
I
a
don't
lot of
like
weird
that.
stuff when it comes
You,
to that. Yeah,
you
it's
know
not a
where
team game at that point.
I would like that is if I was the entire allies. Yeah, I will keep all of Africa and I don't care. Give me my 8 IPCs for UK. I don't care. Give me the 8 for Germany. I don't care. All of a sudden the United States has 84. I'll figure it out. But yeah, that I
Oh, and
think that
84 84, you probably have the long range technology by then
Yes,
on everything, and
right.
you're just flying planes around the world like we
Yeah,
basically do now.
I probably have heavy bombers, and I am doing the IPC
Jet
runs.
fuel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing the IPC runs on Germany and Japan with 30 bombers each, and they're not building anything. And basically, it's me just laughing, saying, "Do you want to retire? Because I'm going to kill
Well, then they have 70 infantry on it by the time you go to take it, and it takes 500,
you." Right,
500 transport ships, and
but I
but they can't do
also
anything.
they can't do anything because I will control they won't have any navy, so they will. Yeah, Japan will have 500 infantrymen out of Japan, but they can't go anywhere. Um, they will only have Japan, and I'll slowly start building. At that point, I've probably put on factories on Manchuria and Guangdong and French Indochina, which all are three. So I'm putting, 9 transports out every turn, and then I'm building a set of guys. And pretty soon, I'm going to have as many transports and guys as they do. And at that point, I'll probably have 1 million battleships and 1 billion fucking heavy bombers. So it'll be one of those things. I'll get one real good shot at it, and if I fail, I'll have to rebuild quite a bit. But eventually, it will happen.
Yeah. So here's an off the wall question. If you had to play solo versus 4 other people and it was everybody for themselves, which country are you taking?
Well, obviously, I want United States. I have the most IPCs,
That's the
and
easiest one,
and
yeah.
and I'm isolated.
Yep.
You like it's going to take a lot for you to get at me. I mean, I can build subs right away, and I can defend the seaboards very easily with just subs, right? Um,
So
realistically,
which one would you take next, Japan or Germany?
I would probably take Japan because once again, I'm isolated, right? Um, I'm in a good spot. You can't just come at me. You got to come at me with boats, which means I can build up a navy and make it very hard for you to even get at me. Yeah, and let's face it, the eastern side of Europe is not well protected, so you can get a bunch of IPCs there pretty quickly between Russia and the Americas and India, depending on how India gets defended. Yeah, Japan's the second.
Which
Japan's second.
which is the worst country then? Because
Uh,
there's 2 different answers on this one.
so to me, the worst country, if you're playing everybody against everybody, the worst country is Germany, or not Germany, is Russia.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, UK isn't your friend anymore either. And they are transporting people into every chance they get into Karelia. Um, and you got Japan coming at you from the east, and you got Germany coming at you. Yeah, Russia would die very quickly if they don't have any friends. Russia needs the allies in order to stay alive.
Yeah, Russia's the worst one. But
Russia doesn't have a chance. They are dead immediately.
after Russia, Great Britain is
Great.
it's going to last a long time because
One,
you got to defeat the rest of the world before you go after that one island.
yes, yeah. To me, Russia would absolutely be the worst. Germany would be second worst. I mean, you got a good IPC run, but you're on land. Um,
Germany, I think, would be better than Great Britain by far.
well, the thing is, Great Britain. I mean, like you said, you're on an island, which makes it hard to get to. If you're Great
They'll
Britain.
last. They have the chance of lasting longer because of the island.
Well, and
But
that's why I
Germany
think
has the best shot at dominating everybody from the jump.
from the jump, yes, except for the United States. And the United States can come over, and if you're not playing as allies, pretty soon the United States own all of Africa, and they're coming through Algeria and Persia, and they're taking that area, and they're going to come up through Russia. And like realistically, to me, yeah, you're going to advance quickly as Germany in that situation, but I think the United Kingdom will last longer because Germany is landlocked. I mean, realistically, you can get to them with tanks. You can get to them with planes. You can get to them. You don't need boats. That's the biggest thing. You don't need boats.
That Germany would park boats around UK so they couldn't build ships.
They would have to. But
Yeah,
at that point, you're UK. You're doing you're just building infantry. Hey, you're going to come at me. That's fine. I want to have as many infantry here as you can.
but
Hopefully my
Germany's going to take Russia right off the get go.
yes. So realistically, if I'm looking at it, Russia is the hardest to play with if you're doing that. Germany, you could grow quickly, but you need to fortify as much as you can. United States, to me, like I said, if I'm the United States, I'm taking Africa as quickly as possible, and I'm building the Navy up. I'm going to try to own the seas on both sides. And maybe I don't even fuck with Japan right away, and I just go after Africa, Germany, UK, and I just try to fortify the Western United States with a bunch of fucking subs and just say, hey, kind of thermonuclear shits. You know what I mean? I'm not going to fuck with you right now. You don't fuck with me. We'll fight over these people over here.
Yeah, no, by all means, U.S. is the easiest one to play with out of everybody. Hardest one is Russia. And then you can make a case for UK and Germany on which one's worse. But
Yeah.
in my opinion, I think Germany's got a better shot at dominating than Japan does on land. But Japan has a better chance of confining people to their spaces and eventually getting to them on land.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like I said, I mean, with Japan, you could come from the east and you could I mean, if Russia would get first shot, and what's going to happen is if Russia gets bad rolls and fails and leaves two guys in Russia, then Japan's going to be able to come in and take it. And all of a sudden, Japan is taking over Russia and not Germany. And if you're playing just to yourself and Japan is then going against Germany and Japan has Russia and all the other resources behind it, that's a big deal because, I mean, Japan has a lot of IPCs tied up in all those little tiny islands that are hard to get.
that take forever.
Yes.
Takes forever to get those little bastards. They're everywhere. Well, I took this island, another turn. I took a next island, another turn. Can't get them all at once.
Nope. Takes forever. You gotta be kind of methodical about it because the Carolina Islands don't do you any good, right? They really don't.
Yeah.
No IPCs there. New Guinea's got one.
But they got
Islands,
troops.
yeah. Well,
They got
yes,
troops,
they do.
but they don't have any points.
Right. So realistically, yeah, East Indies, Borneo, Philippines, those are the ones you want to take, but they're the furthest ones over. The ones that, Wake Island isn't worth shit. It's got a troop on it, not worth anything.
The only thing it's good for is being able to land planes. That's it. That's the whole reason Japan wanted it to begin with.
Yep.
Is so they can land planes.
And Japan gets to start with a guy on it, so you have to take it over if you're America to even be able to land planes on it, which is why you would want it.
Yep. So then you're close enough to attack the mainland.
Yep.
Same with Wake Island that we kept fighting over.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. Wake Island it's adjacent to
it's
the
American
Japan Sea.
off the jump, but
no, Wake is not. Midway is.
Oh, sorry, Midway. I got those two confused. Midway.
Yeah.
Same reason we want is Japan wanted Midway.
Yep.
Is because then they'd have an airport.
Yep, that's it. That's real life too.
Yeah, Midway and Wake. We wanted the airports. They wanted that airport. We wanted the other one.
Yep.
That's it. It's the whole fight over those two islands. A landing strip.
So I would say this to start, I guess, kind of take us off subject but on subject. You know what I mean?
Oh, outstanding.
If you're watching this or listening to us, YouTube or Spotify, and if you agree or disagree with our strategies on entities, or if you have one we didn't think of, put it in the comments. Let us know.
And by all means, tear mine apart because I'm off the wall thinking all the time, and I throw random little building blocks everywhere. So.
Well, I would say that was one of the good things about when we used to play was we would try shit against each other because we knew, I mean, like if we had our big games, like we did our tried and true strategies, but if we were just playing around, we were trying shit just to try to see what would happen. If I do this, what's he going to do if I do this? And it's been a long time since we've played, but we played enough where we knew what each other were going to do based off of our moves. Like, what your first move was, I knew what my first move was. But, like, so if you're playing as the Allies, I was playing as the Axis, what you did with Russia, you already knew what I was going to do as Japan based off what you did with Russia.
We came down to the rolls. That's the only thing. It was the rolls of the dice on who was going to win our battles because we played, no matter which way we played, we always countered exactly the same.
Yes.
And it came down to who held on to their troops because we could play the same exact game a million times. and it would come out to whoever killed the most people,
Yes,
the
absolutely.
most troops, because it was the same constant thing until we got the computer game.
The computer game was nice because I liked it because it didn't take so long to set the fuck up.
That was a lot of it. Yeah.
And that really is the glorious part of it. So I would say this. I know there is the AAA that is freeware that you can play online, but it's only for Mac and Windows. They do not have whatever the hell my Chromebook iOS is, or whatever it is, the operating system from the Chromebook.
Safari.
Well, no, that Safari is iOS.
Yeah, I
But
know.
my Chromebook runs off the Android or Google Chrome or whatever the fuck it is. It doesn't support the AAA app, unfortunately. So that's the only reason I ever think about getting a real computer is just for that. And then of course the board games. Is there any other apps that you know of that play the game well?
Everything else is taking it, and due to copyright stuff, they've adjusted it so it's not the same game anymore.
Right. The triple A is really good. It's as true as it gets. You can put in like those variants where you have the armories and those I don't know, there's schooners or some other boat that's kind of in between the
Yeah.
sub and the battleship. But
You can put in the expansion pack rules,
yeah,
basically.
but I really like to play the original, and like I said, that triple A was good. Years upon years upon years ago in Windows 95, they had that Access and Allies game that was on the computer. That was spectacular. It had different levels on it. You could choose who you played as, you could choose who the computer plays as, and their difficulty levels. Um, I really wish I could find that game again, but one of those things that
Yeah,
the
I still remember
technology,
the disc of that, so yeah.
yeah, the technology is just not there anymore. It's weird. It's like the computers in 1995 were actually better than the computers of today because they can't figure out how to redo this anymore.
So there was one thing about that computer game that I loved because I'd set everything on expert, right?
Yep.
And I would destroy them in like 30 minutes because I found a glitch. You remember the glitch? Did I ever tell you about the glitch?
I'm not sure.
I got every single industrial technology the first time I bought them. Every
Oh,
time.
yeah,
Because if you didn't get get your rolls, you just hit the back button and rolled again. You just kept hitting back until you got them all.
yeah.
And
You,
then you're just a super force of bombers destroying the world.
and I mean, let's be honest. The to me, the best industrial technology was the heavy bombers. Gives you two shots with your bombers. It
And jet
just,
fuel. I
yeah.
enjoyed jet fuel.
Jet fuel's good too. Super subs, okay.
Super sub sucked.
Industrial technologies where everything costs you one IPC less. Yeah, that's kind of handy, but realistically, only so much.
You wanted heavy bombers and you wanted jet fuel.
Yep.
That's it. If you had heavy bombers and jet fuel, you ruled everything regardless.
Yes.
No matter what anybody did, because the bombers could go an extra 2 spaces and the fighters could go an extra 2 spaces, and you could reach the world.
Yep. Eight spots with a bomber. Pretty sweet.
Yep. You could bomb Germany and land in China,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Well, and that's where having those couple spots, even without it, that's where having those couple, Algeria down there, it allowed you to go attack southern, do the IPC runs on southern Europe.
Because you had a parking spot. That was it.
So sometimes
That's the
that's all
name
you
of the
need.
game. Knowing where
But
you can land your planes.
those IPC runs that you can run the game just as long as you can hold the land you have. If you can run IPC runs with bombers and keep everybody else from growing, you can slowly take that game very easily because it lets you build and does not let the opponent build because you're taking all their IPCs.
Yeah, and I'm more of a, well, pretty much the same way I bounced is the same way I play the game. Point me in a direction, I'm going to go kill it. That's what
Yeah.
I do. I don't do the IPC runs very often because I'm too busy chasing tanks and vehicles around and people trying to take my land. That's which is a good and a bad thing. I mean, your strategy is, steal their money, they can't build them, and on my strategy is if I kill them and I take their land, they can't build it either, and they
Right.
have less stuff.
Well,
So,
and it's a combination. The IPCs will keep people from being able to, take stuff back, especially because at some point they don't have the money to spend on people to go
yep.
to get stuff.
Which we're both doing the same thing in the end, but you're just doing it a diplomatic way,
Yes.
where I do it a violent way. It's a different strategy. So here's another question that got brought up in my many of talkings about this episode: risk. How much of a pain in the ass for Axis and allies was risk? What are the benefits and what are the downfalls between the two?
So
Because I know what my biggest flaw is with it. So
to me, Risk is like comparing checkers and chess. It really is. Risk, of course, you don't really have allies. It's every person for themselves. So you kind of have to
but they do
build.
have the ally version. So
Okay, so I've never played the ally version of Risk, I guess. Um, you kind of have to build slow and fortify and then take and then fortify and take. You really got to be strategic. If you stretch yourself out, you can get destroyed in Risk too quickly. Realistically, I suppose it's the same in Access and Allies, but I think it's a lot harder to do in Access and Allies. Yeah, I'm not as big a fan of Risk. I play it, I enjoy it, but I much prefer Access and Allies. Maybe it's the realism. I don't know.
So I look at it a little bit along the lines of Axis and Allies is World War II, right?
Yes.
Where Risk is more World War One, where everybody stands in front of each other and you load your muskets and you shoot at people and you die,
Yeah,
and then
that.
you move your next squadron forward and they stand in a straight line in front of people and then they die.
Yeah, you're probably not right. That's probably pretty close. Like I
I'm
said,
probably not right. Outstanding.
you're like I said, I'm not really a fan of. I play Risk if I have to.
There's no guerrilla warfare in Risk.
No.
It's all colonial civil war, stand in front of people
Yeah.
type of war strategy game where you push a flank with this platoon and then you push this and it's on a field of battle while people stand there and watch.
Right.
Where Axis and Allies is in your face guerrilla warfare. You got to worry about all fronts and you can send a single person over here to cause problems.
Yes.
You can't do that on Risk.
No. One person's not going to destroy you in Risk.
No. But one platoon and Axis and Allies can go over here and cause a whole hell of a lot of problem just by standing there.
It can take all of Africa real quick with 3 people.
Yeah, yeah. You run that one guy from Germany all the way down Africa 18 turns in a row and you take all their money
Yep.
if he goes unchecked.
Yep.
But you can't do that in Risk because you can't put one single person anywhere.
No.
They got to stay with the rest of the group.
Yep. Absolutely.
So what other games? Oh, wait, before we go to the other games, and we'll come back to that. I forgot to tell you about my favorite Axis and Allies guy. His college dorm room floor was 4x8 sheets of plywood that he made the Axis and Allied map on. And then he proceeded to get poker chips, whole bunch of poker chips to use as the markers instead of the little guys. And then he'd put that little infantry guy or the little tank or whatever on top of poker chip stacks like this high. And
Yes.
it's basically like going to the beach, like on Forgetting Sarah Marshall, when you're out there moving the human-sized chess pieces around on the big sandboard, and that's how they played.
Do less.
How would you like landing on a board like that, to where if we could ever afford it, to build one somewhere where you literally walk around and move your physical pieces? Would that, or would you like to keep it table sized?
I'm at a point where I would prefer digital, where I don't have to worry about accidentally knocking over people's pieces. I think that's the thing I like most about the game on computer is the fact that I'm not having to pick up my fucking guys every time I try to move them from one place to another. It's just a simple mouse click and they move just where I want them to. It's pretty amazing actually. It's you're not taking everybody off the board to the rolling mat for your the battle mats. where you put everybody down for what they roll at. It's just much easier. So I actually prefer the computer game. Let's be honest.
So I have a different style of preference. You have to bear with me, okay? We're gonna call it peasant style, right?
All right.
So we're gonna build that big board out on like a beach, right? Where each person has a command station that they're up so they can see the whole board, right? And then you have people that you talk to on a microphone that move all your pieces for you, right? So you're basically running the war from over top and you have just people moving all your pieces for you because you're telling them to, right? But here's the kicker. When it's a battle, right? You don't need to move all your pieces, have all the people that work for you down there, the, movers, move all your pieces together. It comes up on a video board in front of you. And it automatically has your pieces there.
I like
Okay?
it.
And then you grab, remember those little red foam dies that they used to throw in the old school things that are like 4x4 blocks?
Yeah.
You take those, and the attacker and the defender have their own cages, and from your tower you whip the dice into the cages, and that's your rolling for the thing.
That sounds like it would take for fucking ever.
Yes, but it's a big game show, and it's
That
extravagant, and I'm bougie.
that would be an entire Netflix series, one game. So
Well, I'm not
Netflix.
saying we need to record it. I'm just
So
saying that that's how I'd like to play it.
so I'm saying right now, Netflix, if you are looking for your next awesome strategy game to show, this is it.
And I swear, if you steal my ideas, I'm coming after you.
They're Netflix, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. I'm nobody. It's all right. But no, can you imagine trying to play that way though?
I I tell you what, I would watch that just because I'm a giant fucking dork and I like the game and I'd like to see how other people play the game.
What other games from that era that do you have like an attachment to?
Board games wise, I don't know when the game came out. There's Ticket to Ride is cool. I prefer the European over the Americas just because I think the European gives you more options for different stuff. Where the Americas, if someone cuts off your run, you're just screwed. It's one of those I usually play with my family over like Thanksmas. Other than that, I mean, like board games, I don't know how many more I play. I play more card games than board games. So card games, what? I mean, we play a lot of cards. I play a lot of cribbage. I love cribbage. It's still my favorite to play. I play a lot of. It's probably the only app that I've ever downloaded onto my phone and not deleted. Just because it's the one I can play at any time and enjoy. I've probably downloaded a million apps onto my phone of different games, enjoyed them for 2 days, and deleted them. Cribbage is a stalwart. It's always there. There's another
I can't
game.
even play cribbage anymore. I forgot how to do it.
I love cribbage. Hopefully, I don't know. So it's one of those things I love to do. Being on the phone with my wife, whatever. I love playing cribbage. It's one of those games I really started playing in college with the boys. Love it. There's another game that we play. I just call it the golf game. I can't remember what the hell it's called. You have like 8 cards that are down and pairs 0 out. You try to get the lowest score possible. I'll figure out what the game is. I'll let you know. I can't remember. It's a blast.
I I don't. We don't really play too many board games. We always play card games now. At whenever we go to my aunt and uncles and stuff like that for holidays, we always
Yeah.
play card games. My favorite is Pepper, which have you ever played that?
No.
So you take out anything 8 and below completely out of the deck, right?
Okay.
And then if you go no trump on your bids, then the cards run normal, ace through 9, right? But if you bid in a suit, the jack of that suit becomes the number 1 card,
Yeah,
and your off
Jack and
jack
Jack.
becomes number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like
And
sounds
then
like euchre.
it's close. You can go big pepper, which means you got to take them all by yourself. If you go little pepper, then your partner gets to pass you a card. But in both of those cases, your partner doesn't get a play. So you'd say I went little pepper and spades, you'd send me a spade, right?
Right.
And I'd discard a loser off of my hand to you.
Right.
That's basically what it is.
All right.
It's a trick take game, and you go back and forth that way.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite thing to play there, but they get more into playing like what's the name of it? Cards Against Humanity.
I like Cards Against Humanity. That's fun. What do you mem or whatever
Apples to
is.
apples.
Yeah, all of those are fun games.
Yeah.
My family at Thanksgiving they like to play a lot of Telestrations, which is a drawing game, which is fun. Where like say I was supposed to draw an apple, and then I pass it, and they got to try to guess what I drew, and they wrote down what I draw, and they pass it to the next person, and they draw what that person wrote. So it's kind of like the telephone game, but with drawing.
So if you drew an apple and then that person wrote down an apple, then the next person has to draw an apple
Yes, and the goal is at the end, people
to
know.
have the same thing from the beginning.
Yes, and I don't know if there's any points to that or if it's just a fun game, but I'd probably play it more if it was point based.
I'd like the games where like you read something off and then I have cards in my hand and I have to come up with the funniest interaction to
Uh,
whatever you have in your hand.
no, that's cards.
Those,
That's Cards Against Humanity.
but I like the adult version
Yeah, well, yeah, that's yeah,
to where it gets raunchy and stuff like that.
yes,
But
absolutely.
I can hang with those, but what's the explosive kitty game? Have you seen that one?
No,
Where if you draw something, you blow up and you're dead, or pass the taco or whatever they're doing. The games have gotten out of control. You got to pass a taco back and forth.
all right,
Yeah, I'm like, just go back to the originals. Quit trying to make them all fancy.
yeah.
I mean, Jesus, Trivial Pursuit is not even Trivial Pursuit anymore, man.
Well, and so on. I know, like, I have the game on PlayStation. Fuck, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like there's different games that you can play on PlayStation that you put in this 4-digit code. Like, I could give you the 4-digit code on your phone, and you could play with us, and it'd be fine.
Yeah, I mean, the games are just getting ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like the options for them anymore.
yeah,
You remember? So I do like the ones that are coming out again from like our childhood. Like Break the Ice has come back
nice.
of all games. I mean, that shows up.
Well,
But have you ever seen that? Who are the board games for board for fun or something like that? Games where the couple plays board games. That's what they do. They buy a new board game and then they play to see who makes dinner.
oh,
And it's just
I have seen
I
those
can't remember.
videos. Yeah,
Is it Games for Two or something like that? Yeah, that's what it is. Games for Two. Games for and then the word two. And they play a new board game every time for something.
I have
I
seen
mean,
those
that
videos.
though that couple right there is doing it right. I mean, they play old school, they play new school, they play random weird stuff. And whoever came up with the idea to swing a washer at a hook and make $1 million,
Yeah, that's
our dads would have kicked our ass for screwing around like that back in the day.
probably, but no, that's good.
Ridiculous. But it's a simple game like that that's there. That's it's a bar game now, right?
Oh yeah, I've seen it where you like with if you hook it, you move the shot towards them, and they hook it, they move it back to you. And
No, 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 no. It has a board like darts. You score points for which hook you hit it on,
hmm,
and you play high score
all right,
in a bar. You swing it at a wall, yeah, and then the next person goes.
all right.
Yeah, I've seen weird stuff out there. Oh, that kind of hits on bar games a little bit. Do we need to talk about Area 51 today?
Yeah, I'd say that going over the game Area 51 would be a blast. The old video games we used to play, I think that'd be
Yeah, that
awesome.
and
Uh,
Cruising USA and stuff like that.
yeah, yes, I think that would be awesome. I think that's its own deal because then we could
Yeah,
also
we.
get into the old Army Men game,
Oh my
PlayStation,
God, that's gonna drive me insane.
that we only beat once when couldn't walk or talk, and then we tried to play seven
Yeah,
we never beat.
I don't know how. I don't know how we beat it. If we wouldn't have had witnesses, I wouldn't have said we beat it.
Yeah, no, it was
We couldn't do it twice.
no,
We couldn't get drunk enough to do it twice.
no.
So all right, we're gonna throw it out there. If there's one game other than A&A that anybody can pick up that you can 100% stake your reputation on and tell them to go buy, what's it gonna be?
Ticket to Ride, absolutely.
Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride.
All right, mine is Sorry, it's got to be an old school. It's going to be Monopoly. There is no other game besides A&A that makes you want to flip a table as much as playing somebody in Monopoly.
Well, you know my brother, and
Yep.
tables have been flipped playing that game. That's why I don't choose them.
If you cannot turn the tables, flip the motherfucker over.
That's right.
It's the rules to live by right there.
Yeah. No,
And with that, we'll call her a day. How's that sound?
sounds
Let's
good,
get back
buddy.
to your loving wife and your kids and your family. It's called Frosty Dinghy, and I'm the dolphin, and you're the flower.
Well, I guess I think it should be Dr. Parker, but